Welcome to the Emajin Golf Podcast Beyond the 19th. I'm your host Raj Narayan, and today we chat with Hugh Perks from Grant Thornton. This is a candid conversation where Hugh shares some great insights on financial management, talks about some common mistakes that business owners make in this space, and how you can effectively manage your finances, tax, and cash flows. A must-listen episode. You've been a member of Emajin for the couple of years now, and it's been great to get to know you and Grant Thornton and all the great work that you do there. So I think it's a bit opportune time for us to catch up and talk a bit more about business owners managing their finances and some great advice you can give for business owners in our community. So welcome on the podcast.
Thanks, Raj. Great to be here.
Awesome. So look, let's start at the very beginning. Obviously, you deal with a lot of business owners. Tell me, what are some of the common mistakes? So what do people do, the common mistakes when it comes to their managing their finances?
Yeah, look, one that comes to mind off the bat is people tend to really be focused on growing their business. So scaling without the right financial oversight can be a real issue.
Yeah.
Owners tend to really care about the revenue side of things. So whether that's...
I've got to say, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that. I only chase the top line.
Resonates straight away.
Yes.
So that's growing revenue, product development, marketing. That tends to be where the focused investment goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then financials, things like that, they can be an afterthought.
Yeah.
So lack of investment or the right oversight of the financial processes and things can be a real issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I look back over the last few years, I've had a number of situations where clients have come to me where there's been suspicion of fraud or fraud has occurred.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so serious issues, right? And in hindsight, they're looking back going, how did it get to this? And what were the things that we could have done better? And really looking back, it's not a pleasant experience. I mean, working alongside our forensic teams to kind of uncover some of that stuff and working alongside the client, it's quite stressful. So, I've off the back of that, we're really helping those clients have good financial governance, really improve their controls, their systems, their processes, reporting to improve that oversight, because it is easy to, they might have been on top of it early on, and then as you sort of delegate and you build things out and you focus on other things, you can lose that oversight.
Mm-hmm.
So really taking back control over the financial processes and the team and getting better advice and support is critical. So that's definitely one of the key ones.
Obviously, I mean, the P&L is very important, but in this type of economic environment, most of the people when I talk to business owners, I hear people say, you're making profits, but the cash is always, cash is king, but it's never there. So the cash is the absent resource, or people are always chasing the cash flows, and he seems to be giving a lot of strife, especially at this environment. So what are your thoughts in terms of financial management? Do business owners, just miss the cash flow, or is it just something that they're not tracking? I mean, I hear about these issues all the time, and I wonder whether there's something more systemic there.
Yeah, I think because so many businesses get into trouble because of cash flow issues. So it is very common. I'd say like being on top of your working capital is critical for businesses, really understanding it, because some businesses, depending on the industries and things, can have complex cycles, lumpy revenue, inventory, procurement cycles are delayed or lumpy as well. And then they're not on top of paying their suppliers and things like that. And then it's more irregular. So there's all these sorts of things that are unique to different businesses, and then you just need to be really on top of that. So working capital's key. I've seen a client post-COVID, costs were going up. They were running into a bit of trouble, but by the time they sort of came across to get some help with their numbers reporting and their forecasting, it was too late. I think that they'd got into too much trouble by that point, and unfortunately that business went into a sort of administration process. But it was just critical to see that these things can be avoided early. Again, good financial governance, but focusing your attention on the finances to be more of an enabler and to just help you navigate your way out of cash flow issues.
Yeah.
And I think the critical thing is having oversight with, at a bare minimum, like a 12-week cash flow forecast. So you're on top of things daily, weekly. And then the gold standard is more, a 3-way rolling forecast where you're closing out your month end well and timely each month. Then you're putting that into a forecast that you update every month. And then you're able to use that to make decisions and draw insights and do scenario planning and things like that. So
Yeah.
they're the kind of things that the clients that do it well really have those monthly and regular processes better.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting because obviously I'm probably guilty of a lot of these things as well, because we're scaling very rapidly and growing very rapidly. And I'm so busy running between all the events
Yeah.
that I don't have much time. And I track revenue really tightly because
Yeah.
I think I come from a sales background. So I'm very focused on sales and the numbers and the revenues that you'll see all the dashboards everywhere. But really, profitability is not something you track so tightly because I'm a bit of a spender. I spend all my money, and my bookkeeper is always yelling at us for spending. And so, what do you think in terms of P&L? I mean, what do you think is a good cadence for people to be aware of? In terms of when do you close your month end? You said you should close them early and have this forecast. So, what is a good cadence? What is something that people could implement in their businesses, say tomorrow?
I think as long like if the bookkeeper or the teams,
Yeah.
reconciling the bank at least weekly, AP's updated and reconciled, then at least you've got a good oversight of, what's coming in terms of the expenses
Yeah.
and things you're incurring.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty important. And then, just as quickly as you can close the month end
Yeah.
and have all the right processes around that is important.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think in the early stages, like business owners tend to know their business really well. So they're doing things on the fly. There's a bit of like a intuition. There's a bit of like, you just know what's coming in and out of the bank. So you feel kind of more confident in just running with things. But as you grow, as things change in the economic environment, like COVID was a
Big
a
one,
big
yeah.
one, right? Where people got caught out, costs went up, and things got challenging. And it's all good when it's good, but when shit hits the fan, you could go downhill pretty quickly, and that's when businesses will get exposed, particularly with these cash flows.
Because we've got a couple of finance brokers in the community, and I keep giving them referrals every day of people who want to either get some cash flow, like financing or for paying tax debt or BAS or something like that all the time. And so we keep hearing this all the time. And look, we talked about the accounting methodology. What is different, like from a bookkeeper just doing this as opposed to having like CFO services or creating that kind of a cadence within your business, you think?
Yeah, well, I think as the business matures and like there's probably key inflection points and things like, if you're trying to grow, you need access to capital, right? So people will typically go out and use some of the brokers that you're talking about to attract capital, whether that's through debt or equity. And at those points, then you sort of need that extra help, a bit of extra financial acumen to be able to go through those processes, navigate good outcomes in terms of taking on that debt. And then what does it mean after that in terms of managing those stakeholders, whether it's bank covenants or extra reporting to investors and things. So they're the typical ones.
Yeah.
I think as well, things start getting more complex with, all the extra compliance and things and taxes in particular.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I think, the ATO and stuff before. You've got
the ATO debt is a big thing.
Oh, they're cracking down big time. They're going after everyone at the moment. They're trying to fill a gap in their budget. And
I tell you, I think it's because they gave everybody these leniency during the COVID, and then they just, I think gone down the path of all this leniency, and now they're just tightening everything.
100%.
Maybe, exactly.
Oh, you look at some of the measures they've been taking, and interest is non-deductible now, since 1 July. So you look at the effective interest rate on ATO debt, it's getting over 15% when you don't get a tax deduction for it. So that's a big thing, and not everyone kind of knows that. They're also one big change coming in that particularly affects, I think, some smaller business owners is this payday super. So typically, do you know? Have you heard about that?
No, I've been hearing about it. Tell me more. Because it's like every day I go, oh Hugh, another thing to deal with.
It is, right? They're
Yeah.
coming at you from all angles.
So
But,
tell me a bit more about this payday super.
well, at 1 July, they're wanting everyone to pay super when they're paying the wages, thus the name payday super.
Okay.
You pay your people, you pay the super at the same time.
Mhm.
In the past, super's been more of a quarterly thing, so
Yeah.
it's the 28th of the month following the quarter. So I guess there's a cash flow issue there where, people were paying their wages fortnightly or monthly, and then the super's due sometime down the track. And there's real implications to not paying it on time too. But you've got that gap in terms of it's due later. Now the ATO's getting everyone onto, you pay as you pay your staff. So where it hurts small business owners is there is a cash flow crunch
Yeah.
coming that you just need to be aware of, because you're going to have your quarter, April to June, quarter super due 28th of July. But then you're going to be paying your super as you're paying your employees
In
through
July.
as well, right? So
And also your wages is just going to go up because everything is due on that same day, isn't it? Pretty much
Yeah.
other way, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
goodness,
So
yeah.
so you just got to be mindful of those things coming, and the ATO is sort of imposing these things. And listen, it's not bad that they're doing it. It holds accountability to the business owners, but there is short-term cash flow implications, and you need to be prepared for it ultimately.
Yeah. And that's probably where that whole forecasting thing comes in.
Exactly.
You have your rolling cash flows.
You're on top of it.
I'm not really on top of it. I'm just talking about it.
Okay, you need some help. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly. So because I'm one of those people. Look, back in the day, I did my PY at Deloitte many years ago, many moons ago. So I think in my head that I'm myself and
Yes.
kind of accountant, and I should be able to do all this myself. But it's very different because I've always worked in the finance field. So initially it was an audit, then accounting, and then I went into banking.
Yeah, nice.
So I've been in banking for many years because I didn't really enjoy the audit or the accounting, but also because I'm quite, I'm very extroverted and I'm quite good at sales.
Yeah.
So the being, creating that discipline around the numbers and doing that, not front facing, was probably not something I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But still, I think I've got the skills. And also in banking, I used to be a credit analyst initially, an equities analyst.
Many talents, Raj.
And then I went into the sales side. So I come from the analytical side. So I've been analyzing, balance sheets and P&Ls of listed companies
For many years.
for many years. So in my mind, I think I'm so good and got great financial acumen. But the trick is, even if you are good in finance, it's just that when it's your own business, you're not doing that role.
Yeah,
you're doing something else, right? You're running around here. Like I find that I'm going off to events or I'm going talking to people. So there's not the same focus of sitting down and doing it. And I'm one of those people, I intuitively know what the bills are coming in, what revenues coming in. And I kind of intuitively do some calculations in my head as I'm running to the taxi. But I think it's really tricky because sometimes you take it for granted. And you think, oh, your business is growing and you're doing well, but it's just it can catch you out if you haven't forecasted and planned properly, I think. Yeah.
For sure. And that was that point I was saying early on, is that it might be less of a focus as you're running off growing the business, and you need to just be mindful of that and make sure that you seek out the right advice. If you've got good controls and governance in place, then you can step away from it. If you don't have that stuff in place, then it's sort of a recipe for things to go wrong. So it's just be mindful of that.
No, it's good advice, and it really helps. And tell me a little bit as well. I mean, obviously we're talking about ATO debt and people having to manage from a cash flow perspective. So what are some of the strategies or any advice you can give to our member base around structuring the debt? And because if you look at the podcast, all of our listeners are all of our members. So what is some advice you can give them to think about their business in terms of not only the the financial side and financial management, but also like structuring and managing the other side of tax side of things?
With the structure, I mean, the common misconception is it is just for tax, but I think that's one thing to consider. It is an important thing as well. But really, just commercially, like how is that structure enabling your business to grow is a really important one, because people tend to set up a structure from the day one without necessarily good advice or any advice, and they might not be in a fit for purpose structure then. So at some point you're going to need to review and improve that structure. And talk a corporate structure. There's this, corporate structures out there that you can roll into, and there's capital gains tax provisions that allow you to enable a restructure to happen. And we'll set clients up to, go global, international, and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's when things start getting complex, right? When you're talking international structures and different taxes across jurisdictions. But even from a domestic level, like structuring for asset protection is a critical one. And there's lots of business owners that are retiring too. So I think, estate planning, that's a really good time to review your structure and make sure that that's fit for purpose for the next generation coming through to run that business, or even for a business sale. So there's lots of reasons to review your structure. And I'd say things aren't always the same. Businesses change, they have different strategies and go in different directions. So I would advise like a regular review of the structure to make sure it's meeting the business and owner's objectives going forward.
Yeah, because one of the things we always keep talking about, we've launched in Perth this year, but I do want to go overseas, and we're thinking of going into Asia probably 2027, late 2027 or 2020, sometime next year. That's the goal. That's the goal. And I think I think like Perth was our trial.
Yeah.
Because we were really thinking, should we go to Western Australia or do we just go straight into Asia? Because if you look at Australia, some of the markets, they're quite small. Like, like Adelaide, we're never going to go there. Tassie.
I'm from Adelaide. Did you know that?
I know.
Don't talk bad about Adelaide, Raj. But it is small. I get it.
It is quite small, and
some good courses down there, though.
I know, and we do tours there. So we go on a tour and play the 4 nice courses. There are only 4.
Well, have you heard about the new the Live Golf has signed a deal where they're going to redevelop the North Adelaide golf course? So in the city next to the Adelaide Oval, they're going to create like a world-class golf course. And Live is going to play on there in a few years. So that'll be another reason.
We've done a few trips into Live. So we go play like, Royal Adelaide, Glenelg, Kayunga, Grange.
All the good courses.
All the 4 good courses. And because the market's small, it's a big investment to run events once every month. And our model, you need people to come once every month. It's a community in Adelaide. So it's not people from other states going there.
Understand.
And the same for New Zealand. We thought about going into New Zealand and, decided not to.
Yeah.
Because New Zealand is the same. There are a lot of amazing golf courses, but none of them are in Auckland. And if you look at Cape Kidnappers, Kauri Cliffs, Tara Edi, TRI, they're all more holiday destinations like Queenstown.
I played Kauri Cliffs last year. It's great course.
It's amazing golf course, and the clubhouse and everything is beautiful. But they're all disjointed. So it's not a place where you could create a business community in Auckland, say, and then every month they're holding events all over. These people have to take time off. Like it doesn't work. The logistics doesn't work. And we did a market analysis, and I just said, look, we're not going to do that. And we will run a lot of trips into New Zealand. We're doing one in May. So we'll run a lot of tours into New Zealand, different parts of New Zealand, but we wouldn't do a networking community there.
Yeah.
That's the path we've gone down. And the same, if you look at Asia, like Thailand is one of those places where it's an amazing golfing destination, but it's more a destination. You go there, you play golf, you come back.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not sure how big a business community there is as compared to like Singapore or Malaysia or Japan, where there's a large business community. So you set up, you play golf a month everywhere, and then you actually have a networking community. So it's interesting. We do a lot of analysis on the market. I'm a big, believer in doing market entry and really looking at the numbers.
Yes,
I think you don't just go and start. And even when we set up Emajin Golf, look to the target segment. Who are we targeting? What does the profile look like? What does the avatar look like? How big is this segment? What is the price point? So I used to be an analyst, so I kind of analyze more and more. But never the financials after, but only I love marketing and sales. I keep doing all that stuff.
Well, it's forward-looking stuff, right? It's planning.
It's planning.
And the numbers need to make sense.
Yeah, it could become very expensive if you go down, decide to go launch somewhere.
Feasibility, where am I going to get the biggest bang for my buck? Well, you're investing money to go in those new markets. So
exactly. It's a big investment for a small business like ours.
For sure.
Although it's not small anymore, it's growing. Maybe it's not the SME, the ME.
The new office you got out there, it's like, whoa.
So, and when I first moved into our offices upstairs, we were in the same building, And we walked into the office and I had 8 desks.
Yes.
And the first day we arrived, Jamie goes, "What have you got all these desks for?" Because it was only Jamie and Alan. So what have you got all these desks for, Raj? I said, "That's for all of our staff to sit in the future."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And now we've got this moved into the larger office and looks like we're all sitting in this one corner. But the space is for the other people that are going to come there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm a big believer that, big believer about positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
So I keep telling everyone, myself and everyone in my team, keep on saying positive, great things. If you keep saying, I'm not a big fan of the self-deprecating humor or things like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're self-deprecating all the time or saying things or having a pessimistic view, I think your brain cannot recognize whether it was real or whether it was just a joke. So you start thinking it and you start believing it.
I should stop doing that then.
Don't ever do that. And
only positive thoughts.
Only positive thoughts and like grandiose thoughts. That's what I believe in. And even if you don't achieve everything, the one level lower, it was still big.
Yeah.
Of course. Everything is a BHAG. So hopefully you land somewhere between here and the BHAG. And
have those big, hairy, audacious goals.
Yeah, big, hairy, audacious goals. And somewhere it'll be right. Yeah. But I think that when you have these big, hairy, audacious goals, the more I'm chatting to you, I'm thinking it's so important to have the financial acumen and the numbers behind it, right?
Back in
exactly.
Bit, Raj. So, Raj, are you sure? Have you looked at the numbers? Does this make sense?
This is probably why I don't do it here, because I don't want all these thoughts in my head. I don't want doubts. But you're absolutely right, because it could become very expensive. So you have to have that discipline before you make those decisions. Discipline is a good word, because yes, you're doing the market analysis, but you also need to do feasibility analysis from your business to be able to take that on today, I suppose.
Exactly.
See, we're going to have to stay after this podcast and have a consultation with me.
Exactly. Free consultation.
Free consultation. Give me some advice. Exactly. So that's really good. And look, it's been so great chatting to you. I just think that, look, I want to touch a bit more about technology.
Yeah, sure.
Now, people keep talking about AI and technology and in processes and implementing it. What have you seen in this finance space and in your business, or how can we use technology better, like in terms of accessing leaderboards or accessing your financials on your phone? Or tell me a bit more about that. And do you think technology plays a role or not really?
Oh, technology plays a huge role in everything. I think it's really driving a lot of decisions and concerns. If I look back, even just 10 years ago, like in my industry, in accounting and finance, I mean, a lot of people were just moving on to the cloud and cloud accounting systems. And, now everyone's nearly on those, right? Like,
there's no one who's not on the cloud.
You barely see these people on legacy desktop systems and so on. But what that enabled was that real-time information. There was a real shift in terms of the way advisors were able to deal with their clients and clients to be able to understand their numbers, because the information's right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And that's evolved. There's been additional automations through different, other systems and apps and things that connect to the cloud systems. ERPs have gotten a lot better. But really those same financial principles that we've talked about still apply. It's just those tools are better. They're more efficient. You're able to build models faster. They're more insightful. You've got Power BI that can sort all your data out in a structured way. And you can get those things up and running a lot quicker and easier than you were able to years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that's been that bigger evolution into how finance advisors and teams are working with business owners.
Yeah.
So that's evolved a lot, and it will continue to evolve a lot in the next 10 years. I mean, everyone talks about AI, and it really is at the forefront of where things are heading at the moment. It's not going to replace things quickly. I think it's just going to complement what's already there. Like, you still need the tools that are in place today. It's just the way we're interacting with them is just going to be better. It's going to be quicker. You're going to get more automated sort of insights, but you're still going to need to spend the time to understand them and work with your advisors to interpret that information. And you can't rely on it completely because it's not perfect yet. I'm sure it will get very good.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
When I first started in audit, when I was doing my articles back in the day, there were companies that used to have a book.
Yeah.
We had to turn it and we had to put this red line. Do you guys do that? Like line like this and back. So to say you reconcile things, like when you're doing a reconciliation, you do a line like this and you do a line like this.
I was never an auditor, Raj.
Oh, you never were an auditor. Have it.
Yeah.
So we used to always have these lines in there. So that's how we originally used to do the reconciliation.
Wasn't it the green pen? They always
Yeah, so
talk
there's a
about the
green pen,
for the
and
ticks.
then yeah, the tick. But what you have to do is you have to put a tick down and then tick up.
Okay.
The two ledgers, like there'll be actual ledgers, and you have to put a tick down.
What do
and tick
they
up.
use now when they're not using?
I know
pens?
it's not ledgers. maybe the whole the AI just reconciles it all, and
Yeah,
you got to
well,
just say, okay.
I think the audits, they used to do samples of like testing. Now they're just going to be able to give 100% accuracy when the AI gets
Exactly.
So they just test every single transaction.
Yeah.
In a matter of half an hour.
Because
Or
I
minutes,
remember back in the day, like we used to do bank reconciliations, and it wouldn't have reconciled. Now you got to go find the thing.
Yeah.
Sticking from one to the other. But of course, not these days. You got to do.
Well, that's how you learn.
These days you got to do nothing. I mean, even in just even zero, like everything comes in, you can just match them, and it's done in 5 minutes.
Yeah, the functionality.
Yeah, functionality is there. So tell me a bit about this Power BI. I mean, I'm curious. So what sits on top of all the?
Yeah, so like Power BI is a Microsoft tool. It's a data analytics and visualization tool. Clients will use it to pull in financial and non-financial data in real time. So if you're able to pull information, a lot of larger organizations these days have what's called like a data lake or a data warehouse, and you could have 10, 20 systems where the business is using and has data in it. It's all pointing and shooting to this data lake, and then Power BI can be used to sit over the top to visualize that data in meaningful ways and get the insights. So you're sort of turning all this unstructured data into a structured common format that then you put a visualization tool over the top. So you could be getting insights into operational matters on a daily basis, where you've got your dashboard. You rock up, you have your coffee in the morning,
and you look at your dashboard.
Who's made their bookings today for the next golf or tournament, and you're seeing things more in real time.
Okay, yeah.
So that's quite powerful.
Yeah, I don't know to be harassing Harry and Jamie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they can have a dashboard too.
Sometimes I'm still, on Excel. I'm still on Excel sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure, and that's it. Look, everyone's still, like, a lot of people use Excel, and it's that further iteration into when you've got those good systems up and running and you're maturing, like depending on the life cycle where your business is at. As you become more mature and you invest in financial systems and more governance, you can then, doing that stuff well enables you to have something like a Power BI, but you don't. It's sort of, again.
Garbage in, garbage out. You need to put some good stuff in.
It gets more complicated, and you've got to spend more money to then get the insights out of all the data that you've got.
Yeah.
So it's something to work towards,
Absolutely, I'm going to write all this down.
When you go into Asia, you need.
Exactly. When I go into Asia, I'll have the Power BI. Say,
but when you're global, right?
And then look, I'm going to. It's been great chatting on so many things, but I'm going to probably touch on one last thing before we wrap up, and it's going to be around just wealth and managing wealth.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, you do all these business and, what are the word I use for tax?
Manage effectively.
Manage effectively the tax.
Tax efficiency.
Tax efficiency.
Efficiency.
I do all this efficiency, and you do all the stuff. Finally, you made some money. Any advice you can have for managing your wealth as well?
Yeah, well, I'd probably just disclaim this. I'm not a wealth manager, but I am working alongside wealth managers with clients. I think, when I'm working with the owners, they're really, their business is their wealth generation tool, or their main asset, and helping them effectively extract the profits out of the business is a key thing that we look at. And then their structure comes into play there. And how do you get those profits out efficiently? Have you had any, is it regular income? Is there any, capital type events? A lot of clients will pull that money out and then look to invest in things like trusts. So that's quite common. When you're leading into 30 June, people were also looking at their distribution strategies. Dividends are flowing out of companies into trusts. Where am I sending that money? To my spouse? Is there kids? Do I need to park some money in a corporate beneficiary? That's probably an important one that people might not know about. So yeah, there's various different things to think about, and it is up to the wealth advisors to really come up with those wealth strategies that are purely investment focused, and then I'll
Yeah.
work alongside the client and the wealth manager to make sure that the tax outcomes are efficient. And planning is always important going
Yeah.
into, particularly the end of a financial year.
Yeah.
Looking at, is there losses available? Do you need to, shift investments around, switch from ones that have gains into repositioning into other assets to diversify, things like that. There's all tax outcomes for those
Yeah.
things. So I sort of focus on the structure and the
Yeah, and
tax
it's so
efficiency.
important, isn't it? Because sometimes you could be doing a lot of great work, but then there could be a great structure that could improve your cash flows,
For sure.
create
Yeah.
efficiencies for yourself in terms of
And,
tax.
and sometimes it's just about deferring tax a bit, not paying it. There's things you can do like that, and that the corporate beneficiaries are a classic
Yeah.
one there, where you can use that to keep tax at a 30% environment, for example, and manage dividends and things like that down the track. So that there is things to consider for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, look.
And yeah, you've got to speak to your tax advisor on those things. The last thing I would say is that everyone's circumstances are quite unique. So I can talk generally about things and say, here's some ideas, but without knowing that person's individual circumstances and what they're trying to achieve personally and with their business, you can't, you need to kind of work alongside them to design.
But I think, and I think what I'm getting away from this as well is, of course, everybody's situation is personal and different, but having a process around managing it is quite important.
Yeah,
I think that's what I've taken away. You need to have some structure. You need to have some, KPIs, financial measures, manage it, manage cash flows. It may be different what they do in each person, but surely everybody should look at it.
Yeah,
Obviously,
100%. The clients need to be a bit proactive themselves and invest in getting the advice and going to their advisor. The advisor will be proactive if they're there to advise, but a lot of the times people aren't seeking out that help to begin with. So therefore they might not have the ideal structure. They may not be managing things well financially. Their controls and their governance around it's poor. So you're just setting yourself up for call it those mistakes to happen. And you might get lucky and they might not, but eventually something's gonna happen that you'll kind of go, oh shit, I should have done that earlier. So
and everybody knows if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So you need to have some plan.
Exactly.
Yes, and that applies for finance as much as anything any other
things in life.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So look, Hugh, it's been amazing chatting to you. Thank you for sharing all these insights. Very valuable for our business community. And next time, I hope to catch up on a fairway somewhere.
Yeah, beautiful. Can't wait. Hopefully we hit him straight.
I can't guarantee that.
No, me neither.
It's like how you said, I don't give advice, so we don't give straight shots.
Yeah, I can't guarantee anything.
Exactly.
Not in golf.
Yes. See you soon.
Great. Thanks, Raj.
Thank you.